Nikocado Avocado has become a sensation, but what makes his content so addictive? With 4.5 million subscribers and almost 1 billion views on his main YouTube channel, Nikocado Avocado used humans' psychological drive for gluttony, visual and sensory overload, and consistency for overconsumption to build a multi-million-dollar channel that set him up for life. He is now claiming that it was all just a social experiment after losing the 250 pounds that he gained doing his mukbang content. Today we're diving into how he appeals to our natural instincts, particularly for gluttony.
I am always 2 steps ahead.
Yo, what's up guys, it's Gray here. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how Nikocado Avocado taught me how to be fat for money. Obviously, this is not a traditional video in terms of the videos I normally make for this series. Typically, I'm looking at people and how they taught me how to run a business. I did want to look at him because he is now a sensation in the YouTube space. I mean, some of his recent videos have gotten tens of millions of views, all because he got fat for years. Overeating, over-consuming, being this huge emotional character, and we'll dive into all this in the video. He's still weird, let's be honest. He's still really creepy.
You are the ants.
But he lost all the weight, and now he has all this money. Yes, he probably damaged some of his organs, but don't we all? I kind of want to wonder, why did he do it, first off? And then secondly, what can he do now to make sure that he is set up for life so that he never has to work again? And he's only 32. First, we have to understand there's the psychological appeal of gluttony. Food has a way of making you feel comforted and safe. It releases all the different chemicals in your brain to basically say everything's okay. We're eating, we're gonna survive this, we're gonna be okay. And many people have fond memories tied to food, whether it's with their family or a vacation or just positive experiences around food. I mean, in America, that is one of the biggest things that we do. That is like America's love language is food. And then there's a pleasure control to it, right? Because when you're eating food, like you have the pleasure and reward system of high caloric food, flavorful options, it just releases waves of dopamine in your brain to where that's all you can think about.
This is not enough food. I just can't stop eating this.
But obviously that's not sustainable, affordable, whatever word you want to choose there. It's not good for us. What Nikocado was doing is he was making the content so that you could watch him do that to himself. There is a chemical release that creates a cycle within your brain of watching somebody eat all that food, and then you, however, want to keep watching them eat more and more food. And then on top of that, there is also an indulgence on the stress side. So if you're super stressed out, overeating, binge eating for a lot of people can really help release that. Watching somebody online can help fill that void within your brain to where your body does not take the toll of it, but can still get the satisfaction of it, which is why content like this, again, is so addicting. Now we're going to talk about creating visual and sensory overloads. If you ever watch his videos, he has like these white backgrounds with a bunch of food all spread out all over it. And it's usually super vibrant food against a white backdrop. And he wears that red t-shirt. And it just gives your brain, it scratches an itch, if you will, to where everything's just super overloading to your visual and sensory areas. So it really makes the viewer feel like they're part of that indulgence. Because his style gives such a sensory overload, there's a theatrical side of it where he is kind of putting on this persona to really kind of exemplify, you know, the stages that he's going through, the mental foggy, I don't know even how to explain it. He just looked crazy. And then on top of that, Nikocado's storytelling, his whole strategy is having such an emotional reaction to eating the food. He's being, you know, super flamboyant. He's being super fun. He's jumping around. He's getting super upset at times. He's crying and while eating and overeating. He's crying about how much he weighs. But seeing his personal story mixed in with some drama and vulnerability, and then on top of that, he's just overeating, that really brings his community together to where you're almost watching somebody destroy themselves. Even before he lost the weight, we all talked about him. Not maybe as much as we do right now, and it's probably starting to die off, but we do talk about him because when you do go out and get that fat for quite literally just fame and money, no one can replicate that, but you're definitely going to be talked about. So in a particular video where Nikocado consumes a giant seafood feast, the comments on this were insane. There was a ton of people reacting, talking about their own food issues and everything related to that, and how they were offering like emotional support. And there was definitely some community engagement. So he's got and a visual and sensory overload. He is definitely adding emotion to everything he's saying. He's building a community with all this. He's overindulging. He's creating these big, vibrant images of mountains and mountains of food to scratch that itch in a lot of people's brains. So then this brings us to part 2. How much money does he have and what is he doing with it? So obviously, if all of this was a money ploy, and all of this was to just get money, and obviously it was. There's been some debate on that, but quite frankly, it was for money. Because before this, he was like a vegan for like 9 years. He was as skinny as he is now. He was thin back then. From a, biological standpoint, he was perfectly healthy. And then he started tasting the fame and the money and by making this content. And then divulged into whatever this was, to where he's weighing like 320 pounds or something like that.
I'm fat and I don't care anymore. I want to get to 300 and then 400 and then 500 and then 600.
And now he's lost all the weight back. So what is he going to do with all the money? His estimated earnings, according to Social Blade, could be anywhere at the current moment between 2 and 4 million. However, he has almost 1 billion views. So that's not a very good CPM. So I'm guessing it's probably closer to 6 million, but let's say we half that. He gets 3 million at 32. Obviously, his views are not going to go down to an unlivable wage. You don't get there when you have 4.5 million subscribers. You don't immediately drop down to getting no views unless you're Boogie2988, which he's not. Let's say he invested 3 million for, let's say he's 32. Let's say he invests that till he's, 65. That's 33 years at an 8% return. That is a little over $38 million. 38 million. And all he had to do was get fat for a few years. So I'm obviously not saying it's a good business model. And please do not go out and replicate this. I don't think anyone actually can, which is why this video is not saying he taught me how to run my business. But it does go off of the fact that he is teaching me something. With 38 million, though, I think there's a few things he could do. He could live off his future income from YouTube. He probably will get a consistent 10 to 20K a month at least. So he could live off that. And then he uses the 3 mil that he's gotten so far, invests it in a good index fund or something, the S&P 500 perhaps, and he gets his 8% to 10% return. And he's looking at a solid amount of money that will be built over his lifetime. And I mean, if he even just wanted to live off the returns year after year and just stop working completely, he could absolutely live a fairly modest and stable life, and he never has to work again. And he'd probably live a while too, now that he's lost the weight and he's not staying that obese. So at the end of the day, obviously he worked really hard. I really don't know. There's a whole lore behind all this that I don't fully understand. And I think we just kind of have to wait for more to come out. He's obviously saying that this was some big plan that he had. I honestly doubt that. I think he just chased the money, realized he got enough, and then stopped. He's a smart guy, because regardless, he did get all that money. And at the end of the day, he lost the weight. And so I think now everyone's seeing him and going, maybe this is not a lifestyle to reflect now. But this guy just got a bunch of money and dipped. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you guys have enjoyed, drop a like and comment down below who I should talk about next on this channel. And hey, if you didn't know, I have a video on MatPat right here somewhere. I have a video on MatPat up on the screen. Check that out.
And yet I've still managed to stay 2 steps ahead of everyone.